Jake Morrison floated in the cold darkness of space, watching his breath fog up the cracked visor of his helmet. 3 days had passed since the Dominion ships had torn his patrol vessel apart like paper. The UES Ranger was nothing but twisted metal and floating debris now, scattered around the small moon where they had made their final stand. His oxygen gauge blinked red. Maybe 2 hours left if he was lucky. The emergency beacon had died yesterday when the last power cell finally gave up. No one was coming to save him. Earth was too far away, and from what he had heard on the last transmissions, Earth might not even exist anymore. The Dominion had come without warning 6 months ago. 3 alien species working together, calling themselves the rightful rulers of this part of the galaxy. They said humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable to be allowed to spread among the stars. What started as border attacks had become something much worse. Colony after colony had gone silent. Entire worlds had been wiped clean of human life. Jake closed his eyes and tried not to think about his wife Maria back on Mars colony. He tried not to wonder if she was still alive. The last message from home had been chaos and screaming, then nothing. The Dominion fleets had swept through human space like a plague, destroying everything they touched. A shadow passed over him. Jake opened his eyes and saw a ship unlike any Dominion vessel he knew. It was long and silver, moving with smooth grace through the debris field. The hull had strange markings he recognized from the diplomatic files. Kythera, the peaceful aliens, who had first contacted humanity 5 years ago. The ship slowed as it approached. Jake tried to activate his suit radio, but the circuits had been fried days ago. He could only float there and watch as a docking tube extended from the alien vessel. Someone was actually going to save him. Captain Lyra Voss looked through the scanner display at the floating human. Her crew stood behind her on the bridge of the Star Whisper, their long faces showing concern. The Kythera looked almost human, but taller and thinner, with large dark eyes and pale blue skin. They had been the first species to welcome humans into the galactic community. "Captain, the Dominion patrol ship is still in this system," her first officer warned. "If they detect us picking up survivors, they will attack." Lyra knew the risks. The Dominion had made it clear that anyone helping humans would be considered an enemy. Already several Kythera colonies had been destroyed for refusing to hand over human refugees. Her own people were starting to call the humans cursed. Bad luck for anyone who tried to help them. But she could not leave a dying being alone in space. It went against everything the Kythera believed. They had survived as a species by helping each other, by showing compassion, even when it was dangerous. "Bring him aboard," she ordered. "Full medical support." Jake felt strong hands pulling him through the airlock. The artificial gravity caught him as he entered the ship, and he collapsed onto the metal floor. Kythera voices spoke around him in their musical language. Someone was removing his helmet, and he gasped as clean air filled his lungs. When he woke up, Jake was lying in a medical bed surrounded by strange equipment. The room hummed with alien technology. A Kythera doctor was checking readings on a display that showed his vital signs in symbols he could not read. "You are safe," the doctor said in careful English. "I am Dr. Nefral. You have been unconscious for 6 hours." Jake tried to sit up, but his body felt weak. "My ship, my crew. Did anyone else make it?" The doctor's expression grew sad. "I am sorry. You were the only survivor we found." Captain Lyra entered the medical bay. She was tall even for a Kythera, with silver hair braided in their traditional style. Her uniform bore the marks of a ship captain, but Jake could see stress lines around her dark eyes. "I am Captain Voss," she said. "Welcome aboard the Star Whisper." "Thank you," Jake managed. "You saved my life, but you shouldn't have risked it. The Dominion will hunt you for this." Lyra sat down beside his bed. "They are already hunting us. We are refugees too now. When we refused to help them locate human colonies, they declared us enemies of galactic peace." Jake felt his heart sink. "How many ships do you have? How many of your people escaped?" "This is our only ship. 43 souls total. Scientists, their families, a few crew members. We were conducting research near the outer rim when the attacks began. By the time we tried to return home, our colonies were gone. The weight of what she was saying hit Jake like a physical blow. These aliens had saved him, but they had lost everything too. Their entire civilization had been destroyed because they had been friends with humanity. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "This is our fault. If we had never come to the stars, your people would still be alive." Lyra shook her head. "The Dominion would have found us eventually. They have been expanding for centuries, consuming worlds and enslaving species that will not join them. Humans were just the first to say no loud enough for the galaxy to hear." Over the next few days, Jake learned about the other survivors on the ship. Dr. Elena Voss was a human scientist who had been working with the Kithera when the war started. She had been studying their quantum communication technology, trying to find ways to improve human star travel. Now she was one of maybe 100 humans left alive in this part of the galaxy. There was also Commander Pete Clark, a human military officer who had been serving as a liaison with the Kithera fleet. His wife and children had been visiting Earth when the Dominion attacked. He did not know if they were alive or dead. The Kithera survivors included families with children, scientists who had dedicated their lives to peaceful research, and crew members who had served on exploration ships. They had never hurt anyone, but the Dominion had marked them for death anyway. Captain Voss showed Jake the long-range sensors. Dominion hunter ships were spreading through every system looking for survivors. They were not just hunting humans anymore. Anyone who had helped humans, anyone who had refused to support the genocide was now a target. "Where will you go?" Jake asked. "There are others like us," Lyra said, scattered groups of survivors from different species. The Veltar insect people lost colonies too. So did the crystal beings called Quen. We have been using hidden communication channels to find each other, to share resources and information, and underground network, Jake realized. Yes, hidden bases in asteroid fields, abandoned mining stations, dead worlds where sensors cannot easily find us. It is not much, but it is hope. Jake looked out through the ship's observation window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Dominion fleets were hunting them. But also somewhere out there, other survivors were fighting to stay alive, to keep some spark of their civilizations burning. "I want to help," he said. "I want to join your network." Captain Voss smiled, the first real smile he had seen since waking up. "Then welcome to the Resistance, Jake Morrison." 3 months had passed since Jake Morrison joined the survivors aboard the Star Whisper. The ship now docked at Refuge Station, a hidden base built inside a hollow asteroid deep in an unnamed system. What had started as a desperate collection of refugees had grown into something much larger. Jake walked through the station's main corridor, nodding to the mix of beings he passed. Kithera scientists worked alongside human engineers. Veltar workers used their natural digging abilities to expand the station's tunnels. The crystalline Quen provided communication networks that the Dominion could not detect or decode. Dr. Elena Voss had become the unofficial leader of the human survivors. Her laboratory was always busy, filled with scientists from different species working together on projects that would have been impossible before the war. They were developing new technologies, combining human creativity with alien knowledge. "Jake, perfect timing," Elena said as he entered her lab. She was a small woman with gray hair and intense green eyes. Before the war, she had been Earth's leading expert on alien technology. Now she was building weapons to fight back. "We just received a transmission from the Outer Rim Network," she continued. "Dr. Zenthol's team has found something incredible." Dr. Thol was a Kithera physicist who had escaped the destruction of the research station at Kepler Prime. His team had been hiding in the debris field of a destroyed solar system, using the background radiation to mask their presence from Dominion sensors. The transmission played on Elena's communication device. Dr. Thol's voice was excited despite the poor signal quality. "We have confirmed it," he said. Long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures from the direction of Sol system. The signatures are moving outward at high velocity. The patterns match human quantum drives, but much more advanced than anything we knew humans possessed. Jake felt his heart racing. "Earth is still fighting?" Elena nodded. "It looks that way, but there's more. Commander Clark has been analyzing Dominion communication traffic with the Quen Crystal Network. Tell him what you found, Pete. Commander Clark looked up from his workstation. He had aged years in the past few months, but his military bearing remained strong. The Dominion has been pulling ships back from the outer territories, he said. Entire fleets that were hunting us are being recalled to their core systems. Something has them scared. Jake studied the star charts displayed on the laboratory's main screen. The Dominion controlled a vast area of space, but their territory was shaped like a crescent. At one end was Earth and the human colonies. At the other end was where most of the refugee networks were hiding. They're fighting on two fronts, Jake realized. Us here in the Outer Rim and humans somewhere near Earth. Elena smiled grimly. That's what we think too. And if that's true, then we need to be ready. The underground network has grown beyond what any of us imagined. Over the following weeks, Jake learned the true scope of what had been built in the shadows. The network now included 17 hidden bases scattered across 12 star systems. Each base was home to survivors from multiple species, all working together to survive and gather intelligence about Dominion movements. The Veltar had constructed secret shipyards in the asteroid belt of a dead system. Their natural engineering abilities allowed them to work in conditions that would kill other species. They were building ships using salvaged Dominion technology and designs provided by human engineers. The Quen had created a communication network that spanned thousands of light years. Their crystal-based technology was so different from normal electronics that Dominion sensors could not detect it. Messages could travel across the galaxy in hours instead of months. Captain Amy Brooks arrived at Refuge Station aboard a ship that Jake did not recognize. It was sleek and black with a hull design that seemed to absorb sensor beams rather than reflecting them. The technology was clearly human, but far more advanced than anything Jake remembered from before the war. Commander Morrison, Captain Brooks said as she disembarked. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and the confident bearing of a career officer. I bring greetings from Admiral Carter and the Human Defense Corps. Jake stared at her. The Human Defense Corps? I thought Earth had fallen. Earth stands, Brooks said firmly. Bloodied, but unbroken. The Dominion fleet reached our solar system 4 months ago. They expected to find scattered colonies and minimal resistance. Instead, they found the entire remaining human fleet waiting for them. Elena and Commander Clark joined them in the docking bay. Other survivors gathered around, hoping for news from home. The battle lasted 3 days, Brooks continued. We lost 60% of our ships, but we held. The Dominion fleet was completely destroyed. Admiral Carter estimates we bought ourselves. Maybe 6 months before they send a larger force. How did you find us? Elena asked. Brooks smiled. We've been watching. Every time you helped one of our people, every time you shared intelligence or resources with the network, we were listening. The Quen Crystal Network reaches farther than you know. Some signals have been getting through to Earth for months. She activated a portable holographic display. The image showed a star map with hundreds of marked locations. This is what we know about Dominion prison facilities, slave camps, and military installations. Most of this intelligence came from your network. Jake studied the display. There were dozens of facilities marked throughout Dominion space. How many prisoners? Millions, Brooks said quietly. Humans, Kythera, Veltar, Quen, and species we've never even met. The Dominion doesn't just destroy civilizations, they enslave the survivors. Captain Voss approached the group. Over the past months, she had become one of the network's key coordinators, using her ship to carry messages and supplies between hidden bases. What does Earth plan to do? She asked. Brooks looked around at the mixed group of survivors, humans, Kythera, and others who had lost everything but had never stopped fighting. We're coming for them, she said. All of them. Every prisoner, every slave, every survivor they've taken. Humanity doesn't abandon its allies. Elena frowned. The Dominion has hundreds of facilities spread across dozens of systems. Even if Earth has rebuilt its fleet, you can't hit them all at once. We're not planning to hit them all at once, Brooks replied. We're planning to coordinate with every resistance group, every hidden base, every survivor network in the galaxy. This won't be a human operation. It will be a joint effort by everyone the Dominion has tried to destroy. Jake felt something he had not experienced since the war began. Hope. Real, solid hope that they might actually win. The Veltar shipyards have produced 43 vessels, Commander Clark reported. Nothing fancy, but they're armed and ready for combat. The Quen network can coordinate communications across the entire operation, added Dr. Thole, who had arrived on another refugee ship the day before. Brooks nodded. Earth has been building too. New ship designs, new weapons, new defenses. We've learned from every battle, from every piece of alien technology we could salvage or trade for. The next time we meet the Dominion, we'll be ready. Over the following days, the hidden base buzzed with activity. Military officers like Jake and Clark worked with alien commanders to plan strike operations. Scientists shared technology that could give their improvised fleets an advantage. Intelligence specialists mapped Dominion defenses and identified weak points. But the most important work was being done by people like Captain Voss and Dr. Elena Voss. They were coordinating with dozens of other hidden bases, other refugee groups, other survivors who had thought they were alone. The network that had begun as a desperate attempt to stay alive was becoming an alliance that could challenge the Dominion's control of the galaxy. Jake stood in the station's observation lounge, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human fleets were preparing for the largest rescue operation in galactic history. Somewhere else, millions of prisoners were waiting in Dominion camps, not knowing that help was coming. The aliens who had saved his life had become his closest allies. Together, they were going to save everyone. The quantum communication array in Refuge Station's command center had been quiet for weeks. The Quen Crystal network usually carried dozens of messages daily between the scattered resistance bases, but recently the Dominion had been jamming most of the channels. Dr. Nara Quen, the crystalline being who maintained the network, worked constantly to find new frequencies the enemy had not yet discovered. Jake Morrison stood beside the communication station with Dr. Elena Voss and Captain Lyra Voss. They had been waiting for word from Captain Amy Brooks, who had left 2 weeks earlier to establish contact with other resistance cells in the neighboring systems. The silence was making everyone nervous. Contact, Dr. Quen announced suddenly. Her crystal body pulsed with soft light as information flowed through the network. Heavy encryption. Origin point unknown. The signal is strong but heavily shielded. Elena moved to the main display. Can you decode it? Working now, Dr. Quen replied. Her species communicated partly through light patterns, and her body flickered rapidly as she processed the incoming data. This is unusual. The encryption is human, but far more advanced than any codes in our database. The display screen filled with static, then slowly cleared to show a human woman in a military uniform Jake did not recognize. She was middle-aged with steel-gray hair and the bearing of someone accustomed to command. Behind her, Jake could see the bridge of a starship that looked like nothing he had ever seen before. This is Admiral Lisa Carter of the Human Defense Corps to all Allied forces and resistance networks, the woman said. Her voice was clear and strong despite the interference. Earth stands. Repeat, Earth stands. The Dominion fleet sent to destroy. Our homeworld has been completely eliminated. Jake felt his knees go weak. Elena grabbed his arm to steady him. Around the command center, humans and aliens alike stared at the display in amazement. We know what they have done to our colonies. Admiral Carter continued. We know what they have done to our allies. We know who helped our people when we could not. Humanity remembers its debts, and humanity pays what it owes. The Admiral paused, looking directly into the camera. To our Kithara friends who saved human lives at the cost of their own worlds, to the Veltar engineers who built ships for our refugees, to the Quen who carried our messages when we thought we were alone, to every being who showed mercy when mercy was dangerous. We are coming. Captain Voss stepped closer to the display. How is this possible? Our long-range sensors showed Earth under siege months ago. The siege was broken, Carter said as if she could hear the question. The Dominion expected to find scattered human colonies with minimal defenses. Instead, they found the combined Earth defense fleet, reinforced by every surviving human warship we could gather. The battle lasted 6 days and cost us dearly, but we held. Jake watched as the Admiral activated a tactical display behind her. It showed a 3-dimensional map of local space with hundreds of marked locations. While Earth was under attack, our intelligence services were mapping every Dominion facility, every prison camp, every location where our people and our allies are being held. We know where they are. All of them. Dr. Elena Voss moved closer to the display. Those are coordinates. Dozens of systems. 47 systems, Carter confirmed. 112 facilities. Conservative estimates suggest over 2 million prisoners are being held by the Dominion across their territory. Humans, Kythera, Veltar, Quen, and at least 8 other species we are still working to identify. Commander Pete Clark entered the command center just as the Admiral was speaking. He stopped dead when he saw the transmission. The operation begins in 14 days, Carter announced. Simultaneous strikes against every major Dominion facility. We cannot do this alone. We need every resistance cell, every hidden base, every survivor who can hold a weapon or fly a ship. Captain Amy Brooks appeared on screen beside the Admiral. Local resistance commanders will receive detailed tactical information through secure channels. The Quen Crystal Network has proven capable of carrying encrypted data across the entire theater of operations. Jake felt a mixture of hope and terror. The scope of what Carter was proposing was massive. She's talking about hitting over 100 targets at once. How many ships would that take? Elena was studying the tactical data streaming across her personal display. Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. Where did Earth get that kind of fleet? As if responding to their questions, Admiral Carter continued her briefing. Earth's industrial capacity has been focused entirely on military production since the war began. We have built new classes of warships using technology shared by our allies before the communication blackouts. Kythera quantum drives, Veltar hull armor, Quen communication systems, and human weapons merged into vessels unlike anything the galaxy has seen. The display showed images of sleek warships moving through space. They looked human in design, but Jake could see alien influences in their construction. The hulls had the smooth curves of Kythera engineering. The weapon arrays showed the practical efficiency of Veltar manufacturing. But our new fleet is only part of the operation, Carter said. The resistance networks have become intelligence assets beyond anything we dared hope for. Every hidden base, every refugee ship, every survivor who has watched Dominion movements for the past months will be part of this. Captain Brooks stepped forward on the display. Local commanders, you will receive your specific assignments within 6 hours. Some bases will serve as staging areas for the main fleet. Others will conduct direct strike operations. All will be crucial to the mission's success. Jake realized what they were really talking about. This isn't just a rescue mission. This is a full-scale war. The Dominion made it a war when they decided genocide was acceptable, Carter said grimly. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten peaceful species, when you enslave civilians, when you try to wipe out entire civilizations. Dr. Quen's crystal body pulsed rapidly. Admiral, I am receiving confirmation signals from 17 resistance bases. All networks are operational and ready for coordination. Excellent, Carter replied. Dr. Quen, your people's communication network will be the nervous system of this entire operation. Without it, we could not coordinate across such distances. Captain Voss stepped up to the communication station. Admiral Carter, this is Captain Lyra Voss of the Kythera vessel Star Whisper. My people are ready to serve alongside yours. Captain Voss, Carter said with a slight smile. We've heard about you. The human you rescued, Jake Morrison, has become quite valuable to our intelligence operations. You saved more than one life that day. Jake felt his face redden as everyone in the command center looked at him. He had not realized that Earth knew about his rescue. Every act of compassion creates ripples, Carter continued. Captain Voss saved Commander Morrison. Commander Morrison helped build the resistance network. The network provided intelligence that made this operation possible. The Dominion will learn that kindness is not weakness. Elena was studying the incoming data. Packets. Admiral, these target assignments are incredibly detailed. How long have you been planning this? Since the day the first human colony went silent, Carter replied. We knew from the beginning that if Earth survived, we would come for everyone else. Humans do not abandon their own. We do not abandon our friends. The transmission quality began to fluctuate as Dominion jamming attempts increased. Carter's image flickered but remained clear. Final message to all resistance forces, she said. In 14 days, we will show the galaxy what united species can accomplish. The Dominion believes that different races cannot work together. They believe that fear and cruelty are stronger than cooperation and hope. We are going to prove them wrong. The screen filled with static, then went dark. For several seconds, the command center was completely silent. Jake looked around at the faces surrounding him. Humans, Kithara, Veltar, and Quen, who had lost everything but had never stopped fighting. They had survived in hidden bases and refugee ships. They had built an intelligence network that spanned the galaxy. They had kept hope alive when hope seemed impossible. Now they were going to war. Well, Elena said finally, I guess we better start preparing. Captain Voss nodded. Dr. Quen, begin transmitting the operational details to all network bases. Commander Clark, inventory our weapons and ships. Dr. Voss, I want every piece of technology we've developed ready for deployment. Jake felt the familiar weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He had been a simple patrol ship captain before the war. Now he was about to help coordinate the largest military operation in galactic history. What are my orders, Captain? He asked. Lyra Voss smiled. You're going home, Jake Morrison, and you're bringing everyone with you. 14 days later, Jake Morrison sat in the cockpit of a modified Veltar fighter, watching the countdown timer reach its final seconds. Around him, the largest military fleet in galactic history was about to emerge from quantum jump at 17 different targets simultaneously. His fighter was part of Strike Group 7, tasked with liberating the prison facility at Kepler Station. The facility was built into a massive asteroid and held over 50,000 prisoners from 12 different species. Intelligence reports suggested that Captain Lyra Voss and the crew of the original Star Whisper were being held there. All units, this is Admiral Carter, came the voice through his communication system. Operation Homecoming begins now. Remember, every life we save today makes the galaxy a better place. Good hunting. Jake's fighter emerged from quantum space along with 200 other ships. The Human Defense Corps had provided the newest vessels, sleek destroyers, and cruisers that combined human engineering with the best alien technology. But the majority of the fleet consisted of ships built by the resistance networks. Converted Kithara exploration vessels, armed Veltar construction ships, and even modified civilian transports pressed into military service. Commander Ron Hayes led the assault on the prison facility. He was a career human officer who had escaped the destruction of Luna Base and spent months organizing resistance cells in the Outer Rim. His flagship was a captured Dominion cruiser that had been completely rebuilt by Veltar engineers. Target acquired, Hayes announced. Dominion defensive. Platforms are powering up. All fighters. Begin attack runs on the orbital weapons. Capital ships concentrate fire on the main facility shields. Jake dove his fighter toward the nearest weapons platform. The Dominion had believed their prison facilities were safe behind their military lines. They had not expected coordinated attacks from forces they thought were scattered and broken. The space around Kepler Station erupted in weapons fire. Human plasma cannons, developed from captured alien technology, tore through Dominion shields. Kithara quantum torpedoes phased through defensive barriers to strike the stations directly. Veltar mining charges, repurposed as weapons, cracked the armored hulls of enemy ships. Defensive grid is down, reported Captain Lucy Morgan from her command ship. She was leading the fighter squadrons in their attack on the orbital platforms. Boarding teams, you are clear for insertion. Jake watched as dozens of transport ships moved toward the prison facility. Each one carried rescue teams trained for this specific mission. They knew the layout of the station from intelligence provided by escaped prisoners. They knew which sections held which species. They knew where the Dominion kept their most important captives. The boarding action took 6 hours. Jake's fighter provided cover as the rescue teams fought their way through the station's corridors. The Dominion guards were fierce fighters, but they had not expected such a coordinated assault. More importantly, they had not expected the prisoners themselves to fight back. "Jake, this is Captain Voss," came a familiar voice through his communication system. "Thank you for coming back for us." Jake felt tears in his eyes. The Kythera captain who had saved his life was alive. "Couldn't leave. You behind, Captain? How many prisoners are we extracting?" 47,000 confirmed, Voss replied. "Humans, Kythera, Veltar, Quen, and several species I have never seen before. The Dominion has been collecting prisoners from across the galaxy. Similar scenes were playing out at targets across Dominion space. Admiral Carter's fleet had struck at the Central Command Facility built into a hollow moon. Captain Amy Brooks was leading the assault on the Quen crystal farms, where the crystalline beings had been forced to grow communication networks for their captors. Commander Pete Clark had volunteered for the most dangerous mission. Facility Omega was where the Dominion kept their experimental subjects. Intelligence suggested they were trying to create biological weapons using DNA from different species. Clark's wife and children might be there if they were still alive. QT, Quantum Communication Network, carried constant updates from all 17 strike groups. Dr. Nara Quen, operating from her crystal ship, coordinated the flow of information across thousands of light years. Strike Group 3 has secured the Veltar construction sites, she reported. 60,000 prisoners liberated. Strike Group 9 has broken the orbital defenses around the research stations. Strike Group 12 is engaging the Dominion Reserve Fleet at the Beta Centauri facility. Jake listened to the reports as he flew combat patrol around the liberated prison station. Each success was measured in thousands of lives saved. Each failure meant thousands more would remain in Dominion hands. Strike Group 15 is reporting heavy resistance, Dr. Quen announced. They are requesting immediate support. Negative, came Admiral Carter's voice. All units maintain mission focus. We cannot save everyone if we lose the coordination that makes this possible. Jake understood the logic, but it was hard to accept. Somewhere, human and alien forces were dying because help was not available. The scope of the operation meant that some battles would be lost even as the overall mission succeeded. The largest battle was happening at the Dominion Command Center. Admiral Carter's fleet faced 3 full battle groups defending the facility. The fighting had been raging for 8 hours and the outcome was still in doubt. Command center shields are at 60%, reported the Admiral's tactical officer. Enemy reinforcements arriving from the outer sectors. All available ships converge on the command facility, Carter ordered. This is where we break their coordination. Without their central command, the other facilities cannot coordinate their defenses. Jake watched on his tactical display as ships from across the battlefield moved toward the Admiral's position. Some were human vessels from Earth's rebuilt fleet. Others were resistance ships from the hidden networks. All were united in their determination to end Dominion control of the galaxy. The battle for the command facility lasted another 4 hours. When it ended, the Dominion's central leadership was either dead or captured. Their fleet was scattered. Their ability to coordinate defenses across their territory was broken. All strike groups, this is Admiral Carter, came the announcement Jake had been waiting for. Primary objective secured. Begin prisoner evacuation immediately. We have maybe 6 hours before Dominion reinforcements arrive from their core systems. The evacuation was almost as complex as the assault. Millions of prisoners needed medical attention, food, and transport to safety. Many had been held for months or years. Some were so weak they could barely walk. Others were suffering from diseases or injuries inflicted by their captors. Jake found himself helping to load Kythera prisoners onto transport ships. Many of them recognized him from his time at the resistance bases. They knew he was the human Captain Voss had saved, the one who had helped coordinate the intelligence network that made the rescue possible. "You came back," one elderly Kythera said as Jake helped him into the transport. "We heard humans always abandon their allies when Things become difficult. Humans learn from their friends, Jake replied. Your people taught us that every life has value. We don't forget lessons like that. Captain Voss appeared beside him, looking tired but triumphant. Her imprisonment had left her thinner than before, but her spirit was unbroken. How many did we save? She asked. Jake consulted his datapad. Current count is over 1.8 million prisoners across all facilities. We lost maybe 30,000 personnel in the fighting. The intelligence networks estimate we destroyed 70% of Dominion military infrastructure in the targeted systems. Voss nodded slowly. And the cost to our fleets? Heavy, Jake admitted. We lost almost 40% of the human ships, 60% of the resistance vessels. But Captain Brooks says Earth has more fleets in production. The Veltar shipyards are already building replacements. They stood together watching the massive evacuation operation. Ships from dozens of species worked together to transport the rescued prisoners to safety. Medical vessels provided emergency treatment. Supply ships distributed food and clothing to beings who had not seen either in months or years. The Dominion will retaliate, Voss said quietly. Let them come, Jake replied. They're not fighting scattered colonies anymore. They're facing an alliance of every species they've tried to destroy. United species are stronger than any single empire. Captain Amy Brooks appeared on the transport ship's communication screen. She looked exhausted but satisfied. All strike groups begin withdrawal to Rally Point Alpha. Mission accomplished. Jake looked around at the rescued prisoners filling the transport. Humans reunited with their families. Kithara scientists freed from forced labor. Veltar engineers no longer building weapons for their enemies. Quen individuals whose crystal bodies pulsed with joy at their liberation. The Dominion had tried to prove that different species could not work together. Instead, they had created the strongest alliance the galaxy had ever seen. An alliance forged, not by conquest but by compassion. Built not on fear but on hope. The great rescue was complete. Now came the harder task of building a galaxy where such rescues would never again be necessary. Jake strapped himself into his fighter for the journey home. 6 months after the Great Rescue, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, watching ships from 12 different species work together in ways that would have seemed impossible during the dark days of the war. The massive space station orbited a planet that had been chosen specifically because no single species had prior claim to it. It was neutral ground, a symbol of the new alliance that had emerged from the ashes of Dominion tyranny. The war was not over. Dominion forces still controlled their core systems, and skirmishes continued along the borders of what the media had begun calling free space. But something fundamental had changed in the galaxy. The rescue operations had proven that different species could work together, not just to survive, but to protect each other. Captain Lyra Voss joined Jake at the observation window. She wore the uniform of the Integrated Defense Force, the military organization that had grown from the resistance networks and Earth's rebuilt fleet. Her ship, the New Star Whisper, was docked alongside human destroyers and vessels from half a dozen other species. The council meeting went well, she said. The Andrian delegation has agreed to join the alliance. Jake nodded. The Andrians were a peaceful species from the far rim, who had managed to avoid Dominion attention by hiding their civilization in deep space. Their decision to join the alliance brought the total membership to 15 species, representing over 200 worlds. What about the Zephyrians? Jake asked. Voss's expression grew more serious. Still undecided. They lost too many worlds to the Dominion. Their survivors are not sure they can trust any large organization again. Jake understood the feeling. Many species had been devastated by the war. Even with the rescue operations, millions had died. Entire civilizations had been reduced to scattered refugee populations. Building trust again would take time. Dr. Elena Voss approached them from across the observation deck. She had been appointed as the Alliance's chief science officer, coordinating research projects across multiple species. Her work had led to breakthrough technologies that were revolutionizing everything from space travel to medical treatment. Jake, Lyra, you need to see this, she said, holding up a datapad. We just received a long-range transmission from the Dominion core systems. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Intelligence reports suggested the Dominion was rebuilding their fleets, preparing for a massive counterattack against the Alliance worlds. What do they want? He asked. Elena smiled. They want to negotiate. Jake stared at her. Negotiate? After everything they've done? The transmission came from Admiral Kresh Voller, the new Dominion military commander, Elena explained. Apparently, there's been a coup in their leadership. The hardliners who ordered the genocide have been removed from power. Voss took the data pad and read the message. They're offering to return all remaining prisoners in exchange for a ceasefire. And you believe them? Jake asked. We're sending a diplomatic mission to find out, Elena replied. Captain Brooks volunteered to lead it. She says someone needs to verify whether this is a genuine peace offer or just a delaying tactic. Jake looked back out the window at the mixed fleet, human ships flying alongside Kythera vessels, Veltar construction ships working with Quen communication arrays. The alliance had grown strong, but it was still fragile. A resumption of full-scale war might shatter the cooperation they had built. Commander Pete Clark entered the observation lounge. He had been reunited with his wife and children during the rescue operations, and the relief had taken years off his appearance. He now served as the Alliance's intelligence coordinator, working with agents from multiple species to monitor Dominion activities. The diplomatic mission launches tomorrow, he announced. Admiral Carter wants a full security escort, 3 squadrons of fighters plus 2 cruiser escorts. Who's commanding the escort? Jake asked. Clark smiled. You are. Congratulations, Admiral. Morrison. Jake felt his knees go weak. Admiral? Pete, I was just a patrol ship captain a year ago. A year ago, you were a patrol ship captain who got saved by aliens and helped build the intelligence network that saved millions of lives, Clark replied. The Council feels you represent what the Alliance stands for: cooperation between species, trust built through shared sacrifice. Voss placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. Besides, you'll have good help. I'm commanding the escort fleet. 2 weeks later, Jake found himself aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony, approaching the edge of Dominion space. The ship was a marvel of cooperative engineering, built jointly by human Kythera and Veltar shipyards. It carried diplomatic representatives from 8 Alliance species, along with military observers and intelligence specialists. Captain Amy Brooks commanded the mission. She had insisted on personally delivering the Alliance's response to the Dominion peace offer. Her experience during the war had made her one of the Alliance's most trusted military leaders. Dominion patrol ships are approaching, reported the ship's Quen communications officer. They're requesting permission to escort us to the meeting site. Jake studied the tactical display. The Dominion ships were maintaining a respectful distance, but their weapons were powered and ready. This could still be a trap. Permission granted, Brooks said, but maintain full shields and keep our escort squadrons on high alert. The meeting took place aboard a neutral space station in the buffer zone between Alliance and Dominion territory. The station had been built by a species that had managed to remain neutral throughout the war, serving as mediators for prisoner exchanges and other necessary communications. Admiral Kresh Voller was not what Jake had expected. The Dominion military commander was from the Thyssen species, tall and thin with scaled skin and large golden eyes. His uniform was simpler than the elaborate designs worn by previous Dominion leaders, and his manner was direct rather than arrogant. The previous leadership believed that diversity was weakness, Voller said as he addressed the Alliance delegation. They thought that by eliminating different species and cultures, they could create stability through uniformity. They were wrong. Dr. Elena Voss leaned forward. What changed their minds? The rescue operations, Voller replied. When your alliance struck simultaneously at 112 targets, coordinating across 17 star systems, our analysts realized something they had refused to see before. Cooperation makes civilization stronger, not weaker. Captain Brooks was studying the Dominion officer carefully. And you're offering to return all remaining prisoners? All prisoners, Voller confirmed. Approximately 400,000 beings from 37 species. Most are being held in core system facilities that your rescue operations could not reach. Jake felt cautious hope. 400,000 more lives that could be saved. But the numbers also revealed the scope of Dominion crimes. They had been holding prisoners from species the Alliance had never even heard of. "What do you want in return?" Brooks asked. "A permanent ceasefire," Voller replied. "The Dominion will withdraw to our core systems and end all expansion activities. In return, the Alliance agrees not to launch further attacks on Dominion territory." Elena frowned. "That leaves the Dominion in control of dozens of conquered worlds." "Worlds that voted to join the Dominion," Voller said. "Our analysts have identified the difference between voluntary Alliance membership and forced conquest. We are prepared to allow worlds that were conquered against their will to hold independence referendums." Jake realized what the Dominion officer was really saying. The three-species coalition that had started the war was fracturing. Some Dominion member worlds were beginning to question whether the Alliance model might be preferable to the conquest model. The negotiations continued for 3 days. In the end, an agreement was reached. The Dominion would return all prisoners and allow independence votes on conquered worlds. The Alliance would end active military operations against Dominion territory. Both sides would establish neutral zones and trade agreements. It was not perfect peace, but it was a beginning. 6 months later, Jake stood once again on Unity Station's observation deck. The view had changed dramatically. The station was now the center of a bustling trade network that connected dozens of worlds. Species that had been enemies were now trading partners. Technologies were being shared freely between Alliance members. Captain Voss joined him at the window. Her ship had just returned from escorting the last group of freed prisoners to their new homes. The final count had been over 2 million beings rescued from Dominion facilities. "The Zephyrians decided to join," she said. "Their representative signed the Alliance Charter this morning." Jake smiled. "How many species is that now?" 23, Voss replied, "with more inquiries coming in every week. Apparently word is spreading that the Alliance actually honors its commitments to protect member worlds." Dr. Elena Vass approached them with her usual enthusiasm for new discoveries. "Jake, Lyra, you have to see what the joint research teams have developed. We've combined human warp drive technology with Kythera quantum mechanics and Veltar engineering. The new ships can travel twice as fast as anything we've built before." Jake looked out at the ships docked around Unity Station. Vessels from dozens of species, all working together. The variety was amazing,